Yep, that's right. That's what I'm about. That's what's happening right now. Here we are, my squeaky chair, podcast puppy, right over there. Micah, here to forever after known as podcast puppy. He is not a happy camper. Just in case, it has nothing to do with the podcast, by the way. Nothing whatsoever to do with the podcast. By the way, squeaky chair, it's on the list. I'm going to try to get it done. Sorry if it drives you crazy. That sucks, I know, but it is what it is. Anyway, Podcast Puppy is eagerly anticipating his Nana to get home. It is unclear as to when exactly Nana gets home, but he is ready to pounce off of this bed where Podcast Puppy sits um, and whines. Rarely. He rarely whines. He's a good boy. He's got to be quiet because Pepal's working, right? Wish y'all could see him. He's so cute. I have to put him on camera sometime. He's very shy, and his agent is very pushy. Demands, like its demands are ridiculous. Anyway, I mean, it is what it is. We got to deal with it how it is, and he's a diva. So that said, got to take it as it comes. Anyway, I can sit up in a chair. I've had pretty rough several days. And so I can sit up in a chair for a little bit. And hopefully I've got this set up right. So we're going to get right into it. Thank you, by the way, for joining True Word Faith for Life with Dr. Shawn. Means a lot to me. Means a lot to me also if you can like and subscribe. That would be utterly phenomenal. I would love that. And that would just be, that would be awesome. It would be really, really awesome. So here I am. I'm well. Oh, you know what? I forgot. I forgot to tell you this. That's Nana. Go see Nana. You'll see him jump off the bed. Nana's here. Go see her. Oh, you didn't see him because he was like a lightning bolt. Um. Anyway, well, you tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to close the door because there's going to be barking and all kinds of stuff going on. And I know you don't want to hear that. I know you don't want to be feeling that. So, um, by the way, I just moved out of the way. Don't ever buy this chair. It's a horrible chair. Don't sue me, people who make the chair. It's just a horrible chair. You can't make it not squeak. I mean, I put WD-40. I've put all this gel stuff on there. Nothing works. My buddy Dave is busy, so he can't get over to work on it. I'm gonna ask my buddy Doug and see if he knows of any solutions. Doug usually knows the solutions. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Anyway, I thought I'd get on here because I can sit up and I have a little bit of air in my lungs. But tomorrow, whoo, tomorrow at 10 a.m. I'll be live on the Two Witnesses Live podcast. I'm just going to tell you right now, it's going to rock your socks. A lady by the name of Luca is going to be on. It's on the Two Witnesses Live podcast. Now, it'll be afterwards on here as well. It'll be populated over here as well. But I'll be interviewing a lady by the name of Luca. If you've ever wanted to know what a person who transitioned sexes, lived as the opposite sex for decades, found Christ, and transitioned back. If you ever wanted to know all about that, I'm just telling you. Tomorrow's going to be a game changer. 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Two Witnesses Live podcast, and maybe a day, some point that day, it'll be populated over on my podcast. But I'll be doing the interview, and I'll be with Christopher over on the Two Witnesses Live. Many of you have come from that and subscribed to me here on the True Word Faith for Life with Dr. Shawn podcast. So I really appreciate it. We're going to be doing lives here. I'll be honest, I don't know how. At this point, I've tried to do it a couple times, won't do it. So today, why in the world should you listen? Some of you may have said, "Well, I trust my gut about Dr. Shawn, so I am going to subscribe." Now we had I looked it up to our website. We had 5.6 million subscribers, and so they watched the different shows, hundreds of hours of content, um, and I got rid of that the website drshawngreener.com. Um, just because why would I pay for it? I was supposed to be dead by now, so why spend the money if you know what I'm saying? You know. So anyhow, that is what it is as well. But tell your friends, by the way, subscribe, like, do all the stuff. It's going to be super awesome. More people see it, the more people watch, subscribe, like, hit that little bell, and share with their friends, the more people can see it. I know that sounds obvious, but it's not. You'd be shocked. The algorithm works off of this whole system, and and I'm learning about hashtags and all. I didn't have to do any of that before. I don't know. So anyway, I was supposed to be dead, so here I am, not dead yet. And so maybe you trusted your gut. You said, I'm gonna trust my gut on Dr. Shawn. Well, I'm here to tell you, don't trust your gut. Never trust your gut. Um, well, I had a hunch. I go with my hunches. Don't do it. Don't trust your hunches. I just go with what I feel. You know, I have a feeling. Don't do that. I'm here to tell you, feelings, emotions, your gut is emotions. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some stuff that might maybe offend some of you. It's not my aim to do that, but I want to help educate you. And you might say, well, I don't need to be educated. I'm so super smart already. Well, it's probably true. But, um, I don't know. Hey, look, you may listen to this and go, man, I've been waiting for somebody to tell me this my whole life. I hope so. I hope that's the case. Wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't that be wonderful? People are motivated different ways. They're motivated different ways. You may be motivated in an entirely different way than even your sibling, your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, whatever. You may be motivated. Let's say you are a sibling, and you're a twin, and your twin is just driven differently than you are. Well, I get it. I get it. I see that a lot. I saw it when I was practicing, and I saw it in my different law enforcement and military and different activities professionally, and I've had extensive training on it, obviously, but I'm here to tell you, trust in your gut. It'll get you. It will get you because people are motivated different ways, and emotions lie. Oof, emotions lie. Emotions are a great lie. Often it's not like you think. Whatever it is you're fearful about, that's an emotion. Whatever you're fearful about, it's not real. It's not true. It's not happening. It's not something that it never ends up the way you fear. So you pre-emote, that's one of my terms. Pre-emote, you experience the negative aspect. It's always negative. You experience the negative aspect of that thing that you fear by pre-emoting, and then it doesn't happen, and you're like, whew. But guess what? You're worn out from pre-emoting or experiencing that thing, that fear, that dread of the thing you were just sure was going to happen. So you experienced emotions for a day, an hour, a week, a year, and then it didn't happen. You experienced that stress and angst. You experienced it. For what reason? For what reason? You didn't even need to do that. You didn't need to do that. There's no need to feel that because it didn't happen. Yet you felt all of that for nothing. It's never positive, by the way. So if you feel something a certain way, it's never a positive. You don't go, "Oh man, let me tell you what's going to happen." Because I know. Because I feel it in my gut. I have a feeling. I got a hunch. The Lord has given me discernment. This great thing's going to happen. Because you have a feeling. Almost never. It's almost never that. It's almost always a negative emotion. Anyway, people are driven by different things. They're motivated by different things. So people have 4 core motivations. I like to call it something called CPAS. I know. Why would I? I don't even know why I have acronyms, to be honest. But well, I do know why. I think part of it is that people can learn from different things. Some people are the type of learner that they learn from. I don't even know how to charge this. Anybody know how to charge this? It's a magic mouse that is dead. It has died. It is not alive. And that is what it is. Now the camera's going to move. Hang in there. Hang in there, people. Don't stress over it. Magic mouse connected. That's how I scroll. If I don't scroll, listen. If I don't scroll, I'm going to tell you something right now. It worked. What you are going to experience is a much longer podcast. Really, this could be 10 minutes. But information I think you can use. Anyway, APIS. I don't know why I love mnemonics and acronyms so much. I like them when they spell out something, and that's a really cool thing, like rice. I'll do a not the one that you injure your knee. Rest, ice, compression, elevation. Different thing. Another motivational thing. The CIA has they have a lot of mnemonics and acronyms. This is one of them. APIS. And you can write this down, or I'll tell you what, if you put it in comments, you say, "Hey, I didn't quite understand that. Can you explain a little bit more?" Or "I missed that." There should be down below, when you're watching this, there's a transcript. There's a way for you to click on that, and it'll say where I'm saying what I'm saying. It'll snippet it. It's supposed to do it automatically. I don't know if it does. I don't know how to turn it on, don't know how to turn it off. I may have accidentally turned it off, and for that I am very sorry. APIS. 4 core motivations. Achievement. Hey, you know what? If you're so bold and you wanna contribute to the group in the comments, put in there what drives you. If you hear one of these, you go, yeah, that's me. That's very much me. Put it in there. I'd love to hear it. I think it's fantastic when people contribute. Achievement. The drive to accomplish tasks, meet goals, and excel in whatever endeavor you have. Listen, there's nothing wrong with any of these. As long as they're in balance, as long as they're there for the right reason. There's nothing wrong with it. Maybe you have a certain goal and you say, and you know what? People are driven by negative. Your parents may have been horrific. And I'm sorry if they were. I run into a lot of people, lots and lots of people, who they had horrible growing up experiences. Now, I didn't have the best. Did not have the best. It was a little bit difficult. But I learned from it. And so your sense of drive for achievement. I have other friends, horrible childhoods. They had way worse than me. And boy, are they achievers. Not super happy, but they're achievers. They're driven by, I never want to be like my dad. I never want to be like my mom. I never want to be like my older brother. I never want to be like my older sister. My older sister's wonderful, so, not for nothing. Love her. Anyway, um, you're driven by different things. And those things, if it's a negative experience in your past, it make you, may contribute to you being super, super driven. And I don't ever want to be like that. I never want to go through that again. I never want to be poor. I never want to. So I'm going to achieve. I'm going to accomplish these goals. I'm going to exceed these goals. I'm going to excel in whatever it is I'm doing. Achievement, apis. Power. Now, when go back and listen to some of the other podcasts, listen to them all, like, comment, whatever. Give me your feedback. I really appreciate it. Ask questions. I'll get to them. I'll answer them. I promise you. So, on one of the past podcasts, I talked to a dear friend of mine named Mr. Mark Herr, founder of the Center for Self-Governance, and he talks about the difference between power and control. It's a very different thing. We use an example of the light switch and all of that, and what one seeks to achieve, right? So power, this is your desire. In this case, apis. Power is the desire to influence others. You've heard of the term influencer. Well, the influencer has power because they drive the needle, because an algorithm picks up on them, and as they gain followers, as they gain subscribers, as they gain views, then advertisers come to them and say, hey, you really have an influence here. Hence the term influencer. Well, they're not only influencing, because the advertiser is a company or a service or some sort of business, some sort of entity that wants your information so they can get you to buy their product, get you to use their service. Right? Well, I have a need. I need that. So then you buy it, right? Well, this influencer, maybe they have 1 million subscribers, even 100,000 subscribers. They'll start knocking at your door at 100,000 subscribers. And they say, hey, would you like an affiliate thing? And blah, blah, blah. That's how all that works. I'm talking about affiliation for the third letter in apis in a second. But let me say, the power, the desire to influence others, control situations, and assert authority, this is not necessarily bad either. I don't want you to think that it's always bad. It's not always bad. This can be a good thing. All of these things could be good things, but these are the 4 core things that motivate people. And achievement is a big thing. Power is a big thing. Maybe somebody who achievement drives them exclusively. Look, I want to be recognized. I want to be, heralded as the best in my area, the most effective in my area. You think of a sales team, they always like to have lists. Who's number one? And I want to be at number one because, in naval special warfare, it pays to be a winner. And that's the same way in all other areas. There's a benefit to being a winner. And then, so the second one is power, under apis, power. The desire to influence others, control situations, and assert authority. Listen, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, if you abuse authority, that you have been given the influence to be able to have the power and to control situations, and you do so in a tyrannical, awful way, newsflash, not going to be good. It's not good. I said it could be used for good, but sometimes you can abuse it. You can abuse power. Absolutely. Well, now here's the second A under apis, 4 core motivations: affiliation, the need for social connection, belonging, positive relationships with others. Listen, there's a lot of influencers, right? Not just on YouTube and all the different platforms, X and Insta and, Facebook and all of these different ones. They may have gotten in it because they had a burning desire to share something. And then all of a sudden, they're an influencer because now they have, millions of people tuning in every week. So that need for social connection originally was the thing. They were bringing you content. I follow a guy named Peter Santinello. I love his work. I don't always agree with him, but I love his work and I love how he does it. I love where he's coming from. He's a really good dude. And I watch another one called Itchy Boots, and it's about this girl from the Netherlands named Norley, and she rides a motorcycle all around the world. And by all around the world, I mean in horrible places. And she's just talking to you. She's telling you what's happening and her feelings on it. And so when she first got started, it wasn't a business. It wasn't an influencer. It wasn't a YouTube star. And all the ones I've mentioned are big YouTube stars. And now they make a very handsome living doing what they do. I don't know that I wouldn't mind that. I have a bazillion hours of content, and maybe I suck, and maybe that's why that isn't happening. But then again, I'm back in the game after a very long time of being away. And I'm not dead yet, so until I am dead, I'm not going to do any podcasts after I die. I'm just going to share that with you. Sorry, as the Canadians say. But they started off with that need for social connection, and then they became an influencer. So affiliation, maybe you're listening to my podcast, the True Word Faith for Life with Dr. Shawn podcast. Maybe you say, hey, that guy resonates with me a little bit, or hey, I'm open-minded. I want to learn some different things, or you know what, I have some exposure to the Hebraic worldview, and I think the original languages are important. And you know what, I'm a person who likes geopolitical conversation. I like to understand what's going on to the extent that I can. And maybe you want to belong to this group, this community. We're going to build a community here. And I want it to be a positive relationship. So affiliation is the need for social connection, belonging, and positive relationships with others. These are core things, the 4 of the core things that motivate people. Security. I'm telling you right now, I've been in countries as they were devolving, as they were collapsing. I've been in countries as they were becoming not a country anymore. I've been in countries when they were being taken over. That's not fun. And the people will say it's a total lack of security. I think security is it's an illusion, right? It's an illusion. You think you have more security than you do, no matter where you live. If you're listening all around the world, hey, you know what? That'd be a cool thing to put in comments. As you folks listen to this, I would love to hear where you're from. That'd be really cool if you're willing to put that. You can be cryptic and just put the country. You don't have to put like your home address with your zip +4 and phone number and social. Don't put that on there. We'll leave that for another time. Or your bank account. Don't put that on there either. If you're color your hair, you don't need to put that on. We don't need to know. Colored contacts, we don't need to know. Somebody said to me, I was going to share this with you. One of the listeners said, you should think about coloring your beard. And I was like, And then one said, I thought this was ironic. Perhaps they keyed off of the other person, said, hey, you have 2 different hair colors. Hair on your head, not much, by the way. And then your beard. Your beard's gray, hair on your head's darker. Your eyebrows are darker. How come you have one green eye and one blue eye? Do you wear contacts? You wear colored contacts? I thought that was so funny. No, I'm not cool enough for all that. No, I'm not going to color my hair. But that might be something that people feel the need for security. And then they may say, hey, I feel more secure, more confident when, I'm coloring my hair. I'm not going to do that, by the way. It's pointless. The need for safety and stability. The perception of safety. People that value security are not typically going to ride motorcycles. Now, I rode motorcycles for 22 years, mostly on BMW motorcycles, and I rode 346,000 miles plus on the road, not counting dirt bikes, all that. And I never recorded it before that. So ridden. Love it. Absolutely love BMW motorcycles. Love all motorcycles. But you would be surprised to know I'm a person that has I place a high value on safety, stability, and predictability. But I'm also a little bit wild. So in order to mitigate the risk of riding motorcycles, especially on the road, people texting and, putting on their makeup and reading the newspaper and, smacking their kids. Eating's a big thing. Anyway, nobody's paying attention. The texting and driving is insane. Put your phone down, get where you're going, use Bluetooth, even then. Enjoy the ride. Anyway, pay attention to driving. It's important. But you might be interested to know that when I rode motorcycles, I wore the best safety equipment I could afford. Why? Because I wanted to mitigate that risk. I wanted to try to, and you know what? I've been down 3 times. I got hit by a car twice, not the same car. Both of those, their fault completely. And the one time I skidded 175 feet. Yeah. It is not as much fun as in the movies, but I had protective equipment on. I did get a concussion both of those times, but the worst one was at 35 miles per hour. Totally my fault. Why? Because I'm riding a 2-wheel conveyance in the snow. It just wasn't just started. Oh, it's snowing. I better hurry and get home, before it accumulates. No. It'd been snowing for hours. But I was bullheaded. Yeah, it's going to shock you to know. Bullheaded. And I rode my motorcycle because I didn't want to park it at the place where it was, even though it'd be outside. Buddy was going to offer me a ride. He had a 4-wheel drive. He said, "Hey, let me drive you home. It's so much safer." Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Didn't do it. 35 miles per hour. Took my exit, or, the off-ramp. They had not plowed the off-ramp. It was like hitting a curb, and an icy curb, and whoop, went down. Knocked myself out. It was brutal. I was sick to my stomach for days. I had a massive headache. Guy helped me up. And then I, believe it or not, rode my motorcycle the 1/4 mile to my apartment that I was living in at the time. Insane. Massively damaged the motorcycle. I was really seriously hurt. But had I not had an excellent helmet on, that was a way of mitigating to some degree my need for security and safety and stability. But predictability, people want predictability. They see something going bad. It's like the old frog, right? And the water heats up and it gets boiling. By that time, the frog doesn't realize. By the time the frog realizes it's boiling, it's dead from boiling. Then frog legs for everybody. Not for me. I tried them several times. Frog legs, not my favorite. So these motivations can vary in strength and importance from person to person. And actually, they can influence behavior and decision making and many different aspects of your life. Listen, these different things, like I say, that, you might be a person who one area of EPIS really strongly impacts you. And you say, if I don't have this, I can't operate. But then others are pretty balanced out. And it's okay. It's not a bad thing either way. But it's just people are different. So ask yourself, what about me? So I want to talk about something now called perception versus perspective. And the agency teaches this in different areas of clandestine service and other functions. They do teach this, perception versus perspective. Rational, objective perspective versus emotions, right? Perception. Your perception of something is largely driven by your emotions, right? And your emotions, if I might be so bold, your emotions lie. They lie. Your perception of something is, and I'll go back to investigation days. People would say, well, it's eyewitness testimony. Eyewitness testimony. It's nothing better than that. Well, that's not true. Because if you have 4 people lined up that saw the same thing, guess what? You're going to get 4 different things, generally speaking, because people perceive things differently based on the things that motivate them. Maybe they don't have great eyesight. Maybe they can't hear so well. Maybe they have biases from their life that color how they perceive events, right? It's the old adage, if all you have is a hammer, everything starts to look like a nail. Um, you know, people who are perpetually aggrieved, they're colored by their past experiences. And so that impacts how they perceive your perception versus perspective. It colors how you perceive something. And emotions that come from that, they lie. Listen, your gut is based on emotion, not truth or data points. Trusting your gut can sometimes lead to inaccurate decisions because it relies on intuition and emotions rather than objective analysis. I agree. Intuition can be valuable in certain situations, absolutely, and I use it. But I use it with caution. It's prone to biases, heuristics, and personal experiences. They might not always align with reality. They may not always align with reality. Relying solely on gut feelings without considering other factors or gathering additional information that can lead to errors in judgment. It's often more practical to combine intuition with critical thinking and data analysis for better decision making. Now, you say, Dr. Shawn, this is the True Word Faith for Life with Dr. Shawn podcast. Oh, podcast puppy is going for a walk with Nana. That's so nice. I'm going to show podcast puppy one of these days to you. He's adorable. He is adorable. I wish you could have met my dog Buckeye. Had her for 14 years. Oh my goodness. She was on my left all the time. She was my shadow, my beautiful blonde shadow. One of the most amazing experiences with a living being I've ever had. I said when Buckeye died, I said she returned to heaven because she really amazing. Anyway, before I get all choked up and can't talk. Many believers or people of faith mistake trusting their gut or their emotions as discernment. And I want to deal with this carefully because a lot of times those people are people that they feel they'll they'll describe themselves as an empath or as a very intuitive person or as a person who reads others or reads situations very, very well. It's just like you ever go to a restaurant and you have a really blah waiter or waitress, server, I think they call them now. And I don't even like that server. Your job is to serve me. Yes, it is, but I don't like the name. Anyway, that's also a perception or a bias. And they're not people. Like, why do you have a job? You should be in like data entry in a basement somewhere. You do not have the personality. And I like to ask people, try to perk them up some. I like to ask them, I say, hey, so how did you get into this business? It's an interesting business, working in a restaurant, being a waiter or waitress, whatever. Yeah. I've always been a people person. So that's why I do it. No, you've misperceived yourself. People have told you wrong. You've told yourself wrong. Your self-perception, your perspective, your self-perspective, your self-reflection is wrong. Incorrect. Insert the sound of a buzzer here. So I hear Christians say this, believers, followers of the way, and for a number of reasons they will describe themselves, and I'm hearing this more and more lately. The Lord gave me the gift of discernment, and because of that, He revealed to me this or that. He revealed to me, I had somebody tell me this not that long ago. I have the gift of discernment, and the Lord, He gave this gift to me, and the Lord told me that you should be using this translation of the Bible and not that translation of the Bible. Or the Lord has told me that you're going to be healed from these, deadly things that you have, and you're going to be healed from that. And he's and listen, one of them is my very good friend, and I love him. I love the guy, and he's wonderful, and his heart is so good. But I always have to remind him, people got sick and died around Yeshua. He didn't save everybody. It's not always in the plan. It's not always the way it's going to go until we cross over the veil. We cross over and he heals our body forever, for all of eternity. Sometimes there's suffering. Yeshua himself said, the sick will always be among you. So I take his word for it. Doesn't save everybody and heal everybody. Little innocent kids die. I have a whole series I do on why horrible things happen to good people or innocent people. Anyway, why's God let that happen? But when I hear the people say, this is a huge red flag for me, the Lord gave me the gift of discernment, and because of that, he revealed to me this or that about you. And I've had people who, are bunking with other people, sharing an apartment at an adult age, who or are homeless, telling me the Lord told me to tell you, this or that. Or you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. First of all, they were way off base. Or that maybe it was something good, they were saying, the Lord told me to tell you. One of my advices to people, especially young people, is listen, have good resources for advice, have good resources for wise counsel, and, but know who they are, know what they're capable of, know their strong points, because let me just say, if your parents have never had two pennies to rub together and you have a serious question about finances, guess who you shouldn't ask? Shouldn't ask the people that don't have any money. Shouldn't ask the people that are paupers about money. That's now not to do it. Trust me on this. So people of faith sometimes, okay, all right, we'll go back to your parents. I'm not beating up your parents. The Schmuckatellis are very nice people. Joe and Ethel Schmuckatelli. But if they argued all the time and they did not get along, and you grew up thinking, I wish them folks would get a divorce and give me some peace and quiet up in here. Don't go to them for relationship advice. You know what I'm saying? Are you following? Don't go to people who are terrible. They're not subject matter experts. I've had people, try to tell me because they dated a person with borderline personality disorder. Hey, you're wrong about that, Dr. Shawn. Emphasis on the doctor. Because I was with a person with borderline personality disorder and it's this or it's that. And their one experience with, outweighs literally tens of thousands of hours of research and counseling and study and peer-reviewed this and that. Anyway, my point is that's not meant to be an accolade to me, but this person feeling they had discernment based on a bias, which was based on pitifully, woefully, egregiously little data, fact, or knowledge. So people of faith do the same thing. They may sometimes mistake their own emotions or subconscious biases for divine guidance for several reasons. It could be lots of things. Here's another list. Desire for confirmation. Listen, when people who are good people, truly well-meaning people, they strongly desire a particular outcome, they're going to probably interpret their own feelings or their own biases as signs from God. Seeing what they want to see rather than what's there. Going by their perception. Right? Rather than their perspective. Because perspective is based on how it is, not on how you perceive it to be. So they have this bias because they have a desire for confirmation. It's called confirmation bias. Cultural or religious influences. Listen, depending on how you grew up. If you were a person that grew up and in your family and in your church, KJV only, the authorized version, because that's what Jesus carried. That's what real church is when you have on a white shirt and black tie and black blazer and black pants and black socks and black shoes and a black belt. That's church. And just a piano. If that's the influence you had, and you were taught these things, well, that's a cultural or religious influence. And they can shape how you interpret what's around you, what's happening, your experiences. And they can uh, often attribute certain feelings or thoughts to divine communication because it aligns with your faith tradition. That may be how, and I teach different stuff. I didn't come to this overnight, so, but you may ascribe that, as facts because it aligns with how you were traditionally raised, or your tradition, or your culture, how you experienced it. Number three, not for nothing, lack of critical evaluation. A lot of people, they don't critically evaluate their own experiences or emotions in the context of their faith. And I'll take it a step further. A lot of times people will reject me in my teaching because they hear something they don't like, and there will be some decisions to be made if they align with what I'm teaching. If they take in what I'm teaching as wow, okay, never thought of that. Open-mindedness. Doesn't mean you fall for everything, If you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. That's a true statement. But you have to have an open mind. You have to have some critical evaluation. So you have to do the research. You can't just trust. Listen, I love this Bible. I love it. Keyword Study Bible. Red letter edition. It's one of 30 some Bibles that I have. I love them. I love them. I love, God rest his soul, Dr. Whitty, founder of Distance Theological Education. Dr. Robert G. Whitty. It's amazing. Died June 20th, 2007 at 100.5 years of age. Preached just 2 weeks before he died. I love all those Bibles all on that shelf over there. I got a lot of them, and I got some in the other room, and I got 4 or 5 here, and I got a bunch more here, and I got a bunch more in boxes because I can't fit them on the shelf. You may have a study Bible, and I mean this sincerely. You may have a study Bible, but I want you to challenge that. You may have, maybe a Bible. I still have a Bible I was given when I graduated from high school. 13 days later, I was in the Navy. Boot camp in the Navy. And it's a wonderful Bible. It's a King James Schofield version, signed by the pastor, who I love. And, the congregation was so kind to give it to me. It was a lovely thing. Little tiny church. We met in a Grange Hall. So if you're from the country, which I was from the country, Grange Hall, that's a real thing. It was awesome. Anyway, all of those things, I love that Bible, and I read the ink right off the pages, and I looked at all of the Schofield reference Bible is pretty intense, but you have to dig, I have 2 Thompson Chain Reference study Bibles. Why do you have 2? I have one in dark blue, almost black, and I have another in maroon, crimson red type of deal. And I filled them up with notes. They're full up with notes. But there was a reason for that. They did different things and different translation and all of that. And they were very useful to me to provide to me critical evaluation of the word. And not only do you need to critically evaluate the word, but you have to critically evaluate who is writing these notes. Who is putting underneath all the words and the statements, this passage means this or that. ESV Study Bible, right? I have several of them. I have a TLV. I love this Bible. Tree of Life Version Bible. Again, Keyword Study Bible. I have Archaeological Bible. I have the Chronological Bible. I have NASB Study Bible. I have the Israel Bible. I have blah, 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 blah. When I was first getting started in faith, really digging, Life Application Study Bible. I don't recommend that. In the New Living Translation, don't recommend that. The NIV Study Bible. When it was old, it was great, but don't recommend it anymore. I have several Jewish Bibles. I have the Orthodox Jewish Bible. I have the Message Bible. Listen, don't yell at me in comments about, well, that Bible's heresy. It's, some kind of crazy hippie Bible. It wasn't meant, it was, it's not meant for that. It's not meant for what you think. Okay? Hang in there. Dr. Peterson, God rest his soul, was trying to achieve something very, very different. And he hit the mark. Message Bible has impacted a lot of people. Again, Thompson Chain Reference. If you don't have one, they're amazing. They're amazing Bibles. Another Schofield Bible, Oxford Edition. Charles Stanley Life Principles Bible. I mentioned the Archaeological Study Bible, the Net Bible. I have one of the first Net Bibles ever in print. I have one of the first ones. I have my dad's Bible. I have the American Patriots Bible, the Founders Bible. I got a bazillion of them, and I love them all. But the commentary that's in them isn't gospel. And if you don't understand the original languages, you don't have any understanding of the culture, you don't have any understanding of who was speaking and what drove them, and who was listening, the audience to whom that was directed, you're not going to understand fully. And if you just blind trust a pastor, don't blind trust me. Fact check me, baby. I want that all day long. Bring it on. I like it, not for argument's sake, but because that's how we learn. And so you have to dig in a little deeper. Well, I've never been a good student. Well, then you probably shouldn't tell people that have been a good student for 20 years and hold multiple doctorates that he's stupid or she's stupid. Because if you've never been a good student, or I've been kind of lazy with that, I just trust what it says. I give the word and I ask God for discernment. God gives me discernment. Gotta have critical evaluation. That's critically important. Personal biases. I talked a little bit about this. We're almost finished. Hang in there. Personal biases, fears, anxieties, right? Sometimes anxiety is a good thing. People ask me some of the different things I've done. Well, weren't you afraid? Doing that job or this mission or that mission or whatever? Jumping out of airplanes, riding motorcycles, getting in violent confrontations with people who very much want to kill me. Weren't you afraid? Yeah. You're insane if you're not afraid, but you have to be able to channel that anxiety and recognize that anxiety typically, most often, is not accurate. A lot of people feel a rush for time too, and you have generally more time than you think you have, not to procrastinate, but to critically evaluate, right? But we have these personal biases, and this influences how people perceive and interpret their experiences. And these biases, they can lead them to believe that their feelings or thoughts are divine guidance, when actually they're products of their own self-conscious or subconscious. So, not to beat a dead horse, I love horses, by the way. Oh, I wish I could have a horse. But understand, I'm not beating on you if you're an intuitive person, right? I'm an intuitive person. But I've also had years of the government's best training and the best training available on truth and deception, the best training available on being able to tap into an intuitive aspect of your brain. And I believe that the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, speaks to people. I believe that the Holy Spirit moves people. I believe all that. I don't disbelieve that. Don't take this as, hey, you don't believe in the Holy Spirit. I don't believe in the Holy Spirit. I'm not going to listen to him. Turn it off. That's why I say computers are bad. No, I'm not saying that at all. Slow down, Slam Dancer. You're confusing apples and aardvarks. But you know what? That leads me to this. Lack of discernment skills. Look, you've got to have some training. You've got to have some guidance in discernment. Because a lot of people think they know what discernment means, and they don't even know what that means. But they throw it around and go, hey man, I've got discernment. Lord gave me discernment. And then you ask them, well, what's discernment? Well, it's me always being right about what I think. No, No. Perception, perspective, fact. You got to have some training in it. You have to work on it. You have to understand it. You have to study it, and you need some guidance in it. And people struggle to differentiate, which I like that word, hard to say for somebody with a brain injury and speech issues, between their own emotions and genuine spiritual guidance. The president of Masters, Dr. Dennis Fry, I'm going to have him on here sometime. Amazing man. And he talks a lot about whipped up emotionalism. So in the what am I thinking of? What's the name? There's different traditions. Pentecostal, Assemblies of God, charismatic. Those are different words that are used. A lot of times, emotion, holiness tradition. There's emotion that drives everything, and they'll actually teach you. There's a guy that was just, you know, not well. He was a not well dude, and he kept telling myself and Christopher had been working on him for years. Kept telling him, you're not saved because you don't have the Holy Spirit because you don't speak in tongues. Well, I teach on that. That isn't what you think it is. Anyway, but he's never submitted to. He's not had an open mind, and he's certainly not critically evaluated, any of the things. And he trusts himself. He trusts himself, and he says, "I'm right, you're wrong. I get the prize." Listen, you've got to seek counsel from trusted spiritual advisors, pastors, people who have studied the word in depth. They're not just repeating what they've learned their whole life from the pastor before them, but really studied under people that make you think. They've done a lot of reading. Well, the thing I need is this holy book of God. I don't need any other book. Listen, one of the greatest teachers of all time taught very simply and led literally millions of people to the Lord. Dr. Billy Graham was an avid reader. Yes, he read the Bible as I do. I've read through the Bible now 38 times. And I can tell you, I love the Word. However, if you want to understand the Word, you had better learn some Hebrew, you had better learn some Aramaic, and you had better learn some Greek. And you had better know who's speaking what, and in what culture, and in what land, to whom. The fact of the matter of it is, you have to dig in deep. And then you have to pray. You have to engage in prayerful, seriously prayerful reflection and stay open to what the Lord gives you, how the Lord directs you. The different perspectives to maybe listen. You can't listen to everybody that tickles your ear, by the way. And I don't think you're going to find I'm going to tickle your ear, because I'm a guy that'll tick you off rather than tickle your ear. But the fact of the matter of it is, hey, newsflash for you, news at 7, and it's 5:42, so get prepared. You got the news early. You got to listen, pay attention, dig in, critically evaluate, and study. It's not easy. It's not. And sometimes prayer can make you sweat. Sometimes prayer, it's just deep, deep prayer. Digging in. It's not easy. But these things help develop a perspective. And that perspective can help you discern whether the experience that you're attributing to discernment from God, whether they stem from divine influence or they're influenced by your own emotions and your own biases, which I talked about. I'm going to talk about down the road the mnemonic SADRAT. This is in CIA, they train this in. I'm going to say it very quickly. Spot, assess, develop, recruit. You might say A for handle, but it's the A in handle, and terminate. Now, I want to say this. I'm going to go back to that in another podcast, but I want you to put that in your memory bank. SADRAT. You live essentially 3 lives. I just want you to know this. Remember a few podcasts back or several podcasts back, I said the thing people are most afraid of is the world knowing what's really inside. Well, I'm gonna give you some hints here. You live three lives. You live three lives. You live three lives. Right? Three lives. You live a public life. Who you are or what you want people to believe you to be. Not your close friends, not your family, people, the public. The image. That's the image you want to project. These are the people, they don't know anything personal about you, really. They think you know. That's why people that throw rocks at Taylor Swift or Adele, by the way, Adele, amazing. Taylor Swift, an incredible entertainer. I don't know her. So I can't ascribe certain um, truths to her. I don't know her. I don't know her heart. I don't know how she thinks. I don't know her soul. I can't discern any of those things because I don't know her. Because image, right? I love listening to Lainey Wilson. She's a country star here in America. Love listening to her. Love watching her perform. Love watching her face change and all of that. I love listening to Adele, one of my favorite vocalists of all time. I love, um, I mean, the list is long. And I love all kinds of music. I love Joe Bonamassa, one of the greatest guitarists of all time. I loved Stevie Ray Vaughan. I got a whole big list of Caroline Campbell, my favorite violinist of all time. But I don't know most of them. I know some of them. Most of them I don't know personally. I don't know deeply. I know them from their public persona. So I don't know. What do I know? How can I say that I know something about somebody? People go on and on about Travis Kelce and you know, you know, his relationship with Taylor Swift. They don't know. You don't know. Stop saying stuff about him. You don't know. Let them be in peace. That gum. They need a break. Give them a break. They deserve a private life. I used to protect very, very famous people, very powerful people, and they want a private life. They deserve to be able to go out and eat dinner with their family. Rule of thumb: never approach a table if people are eating or there's food on the table. If you see them chatting and laughing with their families or having an in-depth discussion with their families, leave them alone. You don't need their autograph. And by the way, if you think if you think this isn't obvious that you're videoing them from another table or from somewhere else, they don't see that. They see it. They see it. Give them a break. Let people have privacy. You deserve privacy. They deserve. Well, when they became a music person or they became an actor, they forfeited all that. Why? Why? I had some level of celebrity, nothing like any of the people I've protected in the past. I was known, and I have to tell you, sometimes people were wonderful. They were lovely. I wrote a book and did a radio show, and we were visiting Liberty University. I think it was Parents Weekend or something. And I was going through the line. They had a dinner for us, and I was going through the line, and my wife and my son and I going through the line, and I was talking back and forth with my wife and son, and two ladies that were in front of us kept looking back and looking back and looking back, and then they would talk to each other, whisper, and then look back, and back. And then eventually the one came up to me as I'm dipping way too much. I think it was roast beef with brown gravy. It looked like it was homemade. Had onions and mushrooms in it. I thought, yes, to gravy. Brown gravy with onions. Oh, no, it was Salisbury steak. One of my favorite foods. How could I forget? Anyway, so they come up and they said, "Excuse me, are you the ninja pastor?" And I said, well, first of all, I'm thinking, how would you know that? Well, I forgot. Been on TV and been on I was just doing radio. I have a face for radio. I'm sorry for whatever damage. Don't sue me for whatever damage you seeing me on screen has done to your eyes or your psyche. But I have a face for radio. I know that. And I just wondered how they knew. And they said, "Oh, we follow you. We watch your show, or we listen to your show." And so they recognized my voice. And I thought that was lovely. They had my book. At that point, I'd only written one. And it was so lovely. It was just lovely. I went into a hotel one time and in Salisbury, North Carolina. And I was living in Delaware at the time. I was going to an event. And I walk in and I check in. And the guy looks up at me. I kid you not. This is what he goes. He says, "Hold on a second." Just like that. "Hang on. I'm going to be right back. Be right back." Goes around the little hidden area and he brings a younger woman out, assistant manager, I take it, and they look down at my book. They have my book. Look in the picture on the, "Are you Dr. Shawn?" I said, "Yes, I am." "Oh, we have your book. We go back and forth." And they showed me dog-eared and all the notes and all this stuff, which I was so touched. My goodness. But I've had people approach me not so nice. And I've been protecting people who just want some privacy. And you wouldn't believe the stuff people do. So private life. Let's talk about that. That's the life that your spouse and your kids, your closest family, your closest friends, they know about you because they've lived with you. And the things they know about you, the public doesn't know. My sister reminds me all the time, "I changed your diapers." Sorry about all that. And the scarring you may have experienced along the way. But those people know a little bit more about you. Sometimes a lot more about you. You may share personal things here and there. Like I share personal things. You guys know I'm very, very sick. I've got terrible injuries and terrible stuff. You know those things. I choose to share that. You don't know all the details unless you're people that were from my Kehillah or very close friends. But I may share some personal things here, but only with the people in my private life do they know the really private stuff. But still not my deep, dark secrets. So that's the third life that people live, is the secret life, right? Secrets you don't share even in your private life. They're your most profound and darkest secrets that you share with no one intentionally. It's the rarest of relationships to have with someone where you know their deepest and darkest secrets and they know yours. God knows your secret life. And he still loves you. God knows my secret life. And he still loves me. And maybe like you, I'm amazed that he loves me. I still can't believe it. I've accepted it, but I can't believe it. So you live three different lives, and they affect things. Your public life, your private life, and your secret life. I'm just going to share with you now that a lot of times those things in your secret life impact that thing you keep calling discernment. I'm not saying some people don't have the gift of discernment, by the way. I hope I said that earlier, but maybe I didn't. I'm not saying that there aren't people that have that. Nancy Flanagan absolutely has the gift of discernment. How do I know that? Because everything she said came true. It's like testing the prophet. Listen, if the things don't happen, guess what? You're not a prophet. There's a very famous person that, man, he sells books. And he prophesies these things all the time, and people follow him by the millions. And they buy his book by the millions. And he's on all the shows. And, And he's wrong all the time. Not for nothing. You're not a prophet when you're wrong. Once, let alone all the time. I say all that to say this. Press the brake pedal. Pump your brakes a little bit. Don't fall in love with, well, the Lord gave me the gift of discernment. Maybe he did. But there's a lot you have to do. One of the reasons why Nancy Flanagan had such a profound impact on my life was not just because she spoke a word twice into my life that was so profoundly unknowable by her. She didn't know my wife. She never met her. Where I was staying, the Campanellas, who I dearly love, some of my very dearest friends on earth in my lifetime. They didn't know my deepest secret. Wasn't even in my private life. And they were in my private life. They knew a lot about me, more than most people. And they didn't know. But somehow she knew. And the way that she knew was because God gave her discernment. But she invested in that. She prayed all the time. She prayed while she worked all day long. She studied Scripture. She devoured Scripture. And she prayed and asked for discernment every single day. But she invested in knowing God. I appreciate you joining me. You could be doing anything, and you're listening to me. I hope you learned something from it. I hope it'll help you. I pray that the Lord will make his face to shine upon you. And you're going in and you're coming out. Tomorrow's podcast on Two Witnesses Live, it's a must-see. Honestly. Please, if you haven't yet, click on subscribe, like, hit the little bell here, help my channel to grow. Share this with people you think might be of benefit to them. Shalom, shalom.